The galaxy breathed, ancient, vast, unforgiving. In its cosmic lungs, stars pulsed like heartbeats. Some newborn and brilliant, others dying in spectacular supernovae that painted the void with colors no human eye had ever witnessed. Between these stellar giants, civilizations rose and fell like tides against the shore of eternity. The Atrax had watched it all for 12,000 cycles. Their observers floated in the darkness between spiral arms, recording history with detached precision. They were not conquerors, not guardians, simply chroniclers. Until humanity arrived. Log entry, cycle 124073. Observer Zolarian reporting, the newcomers emerged from a direction we had long marked as uninhabitable, a death world they call Earth, third planet of a yellow dwarf star in what the galactic charts designate as Sector 7G. Impossible survivors. Their biology defies classification. Their psychology contradicts every established principle of evolution. Xylid Galarian shifted its crystalline form, light refracting through its facets as it processed the data streaming from the observation posts. Around it, the collective's chamber hummed with the weight of millennia. They shouldn't exist, vibrated Zorthak, the collective's elder, its voice a series of harmonic frequencies that translated directly into consciousness. The probability calculations showed zero chance of intelligent life developing in such a hostile environment. Yet here they are. The humans spread like a virus. Fast, unpredictable, adaptable. They settled worlds we had deemed uninhabitable, thrived in conditions that would dissolve the cellular structure of most sentient species, their ships primitive by our standards, somehow navigated treacherous space-time routes that had claimed vessels from the most advanced civilizations. Zolarian projected an image into the chamber's center, a holographic representation of human expansion. Red dots indicating colonies spread across the galactic arm, each appearing with alarming rapidity. The Council grows concerned, Zorthak continued, its crystalline facets rotating to focus on Zolarian. The Viridian Dominion has already dispatched reconnaissance vessels. The Cathar Empire has reinforced their borders. Even the peaceful mycelial network has begun reallocating resources toward defense. What the collective failed to understand, what all the elder races missed in their calculations, was that humanity carried something unique in their genetic makeup, something forged in the crucible of their homeworld's brutal history. Earth had tried to kill them. Extinction events, climate catastrophes, predatory species that should have hunted them to oblivion. Each attempt had only made them stronger, more resilient. In the darkness of space, aboard the human vessel Odyssey, Captain Alexei Volkov stared at the star charts, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display. The scars on his temples told stories of battles fought in places no human should have survived. Status report, he called out, his voice carrying the weight of command. Approaching the Cathar neutral zone, Captain, responded Navigation Officer Jaya Patel, her fingers dancing across the console. They've dispatched 3 warships to intercept. Expected, Alexei nodded, turning to his tactical officer. Weapons status, fully charged, sir, but they outgun us 10-1. Alexei's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. They always do. The humans fought differently, not with overwhelming force. They rarely had that luxury, but with unpredictability, with a willingness to sacrifice that terrified longer-lived species, with a creativity born from desperation. The Axelar Collective had recorded humanity's first contact with the galactic community. It hadn't gone well. The Viridian Dominion, proud, ancient, technologically superior, had attempted to civilize what they perceived as primitives. The encounter had ended with 3 Viridian cruisers destroyed and the humans retreating with captured technology they barely understood. Since then, humanity had been classified as a Deathworlder species, a designation that placed them in the same category as the most dangerous entities in the galaxy. Not because they were inherently aggressive, but because they survived against all odds, against all logic, against the fundamental laws of biological probability. Additional log entry. The humans have established something they call the United Colonies, a loose federation of their scattered settlements. Their leadership appears decentralized, almost chaotic. Yet when threatened, they respond with a unity that defies their apparent disorganization. Their ships communicate across vast distances using a method we cannot decipher. Some form of quantum entanglement, perhaps. But the mathematics don't align with our understanding. Xylarion extended a sensory tendril toward the holographic display, focusing on the human vessel approaching the Cathar fleet. They never retreat when expected. Zorfak observed, their tactical patterns make no sense. Sacrificial maneuvers that should result in certain death somehow achieve victory. It's as if they've rewritten the rules of engagement. Perhaps they had. In the Odyssey's bridge, alarms blared. Cathar vessels locking weapons, Tactical reported. Evasive pattern Omega, Alexei commanded calmly. Jaya, find me the anomaly. Anomaly, Captain. They're Cathar. They follow protocol. There must be a deviation in their formation. A weakness. Jaya's eyes widened as she spotted it. Their central ship's shields are fluctuating. Cyclic pattern. Every 17.3 seconds. Time to weapons range? 42 seconds. Long enough, Alexei nodded. Prepare the hammer. The crew exchanged glances. The hammer was humanity's answer to technologically superior foes. A desperate tactic that had worked more times than it should have. It involved overloading the ship's core in a controlled explosion that would cripple the enemy, but theoretically allow the crew to escape in emergency pods. Theoretically, the Cathar Empire had existed for 40,000 years. Their warriors were legendary. Their fleets unmatched. They had never encountered a species willing to sacrifice an entire vessel to destroy a single enemy ship. Such waste went against their principles of honorable warfare. 30 seconds to weapons range, Jaya announced, her voice steady despite the sweat beading on her forehead. Initiate hammer sequence, Alexei ordered. The ship's hum changed pitch as energy was rerouted from life support to the weapon systems. Red emergency lighting bathed the bridge in an ominous glow. 15 seconds. May the stars forgive us, Alexei whispered. A prayer he'd learned from his grandmother back on Earth when he was just a boy dreaming of the stars. The Uxalar collective watched in fascination as the human vessel executed a maneuver that defied the laws of momentum and energy conservation. It shouldn't have been possible. The ship's trajectory changed without corresponding thrust. As if space itself bent to their will, the Odyssey slammed into the Cathar flagship just as its shields fluctuated downward. The resulting explosion lit up the sector, a miniature star born from the collision of human desperation and Cathar arrogance. From the observation post, Xylarion adjusted its sensors. Human life signs detected. Escaping in pods. The Cathar vessel is crippled. The remaining 2 warships are retreating. Zorthak rotated slowly, processing this information. They sacrifice their own to achieve victory. How can such a species value life so little yet fight so fiercely to preserve it? This paradox defined humanity. They would die for each other without hesitation, yet they lived as if death meant nothing. They built monuments to fallen comrades, then risked everything on maneuvers that should ensure their own extinction. In the escape pod, Alexei watched as the Cathar ships retreated. His crew, those who had made it to the pods, cheered quietly. Victory. At what cost? Report casualties, he asked, already knowing the answer. 73 souls lost, Captain. Jaya's voice came through the comm. Including the chief engineer. Alexei closed his eyes. 73 names to add to the memorial wall back on New Terra. 73 families to notify. But the colony was safe. For now, the collective's records showed that humanity had been spacefaring for less than 300 of their years. A blink of an eye compared to the millennia of other civilizations. Yet in that time, they had colonized more worlds than species 10 times older, developed technologies that shouldn't be possible for their stage of development, survived encounters that should have resulted in extinction. The Council has convened, Zorfak announced, its harmonic frequencies sharp with urgency. They've reached a decision. Xylarion turned its full attention to the Elder. Regarding humanity? Regarding the anomaly that is humanity, Zorfak corrected. The Council has authorized what they're calling Containment Protocol, a joint fleet action. Every major civilization contributing vessels. What the Council didn't understand, what their calculations failed to account for, was that humanity wasn't expanding out of aggression or desire for conquest. They were running from something their own legends barely remembered, something that had followed them from Earth. In the escape pod, drifting in the void between stars, Alexei activated the secure channel, the one that bypassed normal communications, the one that connected directly to the mysterious figure known only as the Shepherd. Report. The distorted voice came through. Cathar encounter resolved. Colony at Silos is safe for now, but they're becoming more aggressive. The Council has made their decision, the Shepherd replied. The fleet is assembling. They're coming for all of us. Alexei's jaw tightened. How long? 2 standard months. Maybe less. We're not ready. You never are, the Shepherd said. Not really, but humanity has never let that stop us before. The XLR Collective had long believed they understood the laws of the universe, physics, biology, sociology, all quantifiable, predictable. Humanity represented a variable that refused to conform to any established equation, an anomaly that threatened to unravel their understanding of existence itself. As the escape pod was retrieved by a human rescue vessel, Alexei stared at the stars, beautiful, deadly, indifferent, like the universe that had never meant for his species to survive. Transmit my orders to all colony commanders, he said to Jaya. Initiate protocol Exodus. Exodus? Jaya's voice held disbelief. But that means abandoning the outer colonies, Alexei finished grimly. Consolidating our strength. Preparing for the inevitable. The collective watched as human colonies across the sector began to evacuate. Not in panic, with precision, as if executing a plan long rehearsed, as if they had always known this day would come. In the XCLR chamber, Celarian processed this new data. They're not fortifying their positions, they're consolidating, as if preparing for a single decisive engagement rather than prolonged war. The Council interprets this as weakness, Zorfak responded, an admission that they cannot stand against united galactic forces. The Council was wrong. As the human fleet gathered at what they called the Bastion, a heavily fortified star system with multiple habitable worlds, Alexei stood on the bridge of his new command vessel, the Resilience, larger than the Odyssey, better armed, still hopelessly outmatched by what was coming. Status of the evacuation? He asked. 87% complete, Captain, Jaya reported. Now his first officer, the outer colonies, report difficulties. Alexei's expression hardened. Difficulties? The Council's fleet has arrived earlier than expected at several locations. They're not just blockading. Jaya struggled for the words. They're eliminating entire colonies. Civilian population. The XLR Collective had never witnessed such actions from the Council, not even against the most dangerous species they had encountered. Something had changed. The fear of humanity had escalated to something darker, something that justified what could only be called genocide. They're not trying to contain us, Alexei realized with dawning horror. They're trying to exterminate us. The Shepherd is on secure channel, Captain, communications announced. Put him through. The evacuation routes have been compromised. The Shepherd's voice held urgency it rarely displayed. The Council isn't just attacking the outer colonies, they're targeting the refugee ships. Women, children. They're not giving anyone a chance to surrender. Alexei's blood ran cold. Why? Because they're afraid, the Shepherd replied. Not of what we are, but of what we might become. What we already are, in their worst nightmares. The XLR Collective watched in growing horror as the Council's fleet systematically destroyed human evacuation vessels. Defenseless ships filled with civilians. This wasn't containment. This wasn't even warfare. It was extermination. In the observation chamber, Xylarian turned to Zorhiak. This violates every principle the Council claims to uphold, every treaty they've sworn to uphold. The fear of humanity has overridden their reason. Zorfak responded, its crystalline form dimming with what might have been shame. They've convinced themselves that this is necessary, that allowing humanity to survive would be a greater crime. What the Council didn't know, what even most humans didn't fully understand, was that humanity's survival had never been about strength or intelligence or adaptability. It was about something else entirely. something that had been forged in Earth's most desperate moments, something that would soon reveal itself to a galaxy that had made a terrible mistake. As the Resilience and the rest of the human fleet prepared for what would surely be their final stand, Alexei addressed his crew. His voice carried through every ship in their makeshift armada. They see us as a disease to be cured, a cancer to be cut from the galaxy. They believe our extinction is necessary for the greater good. He paused, looking at the faces of those who had followed him across the stars. Those who had sacrificed everything for the dream of human survival. They're wrong. We're not a disease. We're the cure. We just didn't realize it until now. The Axelar Collective had recorded the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Never had they witnessed anything like what was about to unfold. Humanity, backed against the edge of extinction, with no hope of victory, was preparing to rewrite the fundamental laws of existence itself. As the Council's fleet appeared at the edge of the Bastion system, thousands of vessels blotting out the stars, Alexei gave the order that would change everything. Initiate Protocol Rebirth. The collective's sensors registered something impossible. Something that defied the laws of physics as they understood them. Something that would forever alter the course of galactic history. The human vessels didn't charge forward to meet the enemy. They didn't retreat or attempt to flee. Instead, they began to glow. A soft blue light that grew in intensity, until it outshone the nearby stars. What is happening? Zalarian asked, its crystalline form vibrating with confusion. In the observation chamber, alarms blared. The collective's sensors overloaded, unable to process what they were witnessing. Report, Zorthak commanded. The human fleet. They're transforming. Zalarian struggled to describe the impossible sight. The ships are dissolving, becoming pure energy. But it's not an explosion. It's controlled, directed. The Council's fleet hesitated. Their commanders, accustomed to predictable warfare, to enemies that followed the established rules of engagement, were confronted with something unprecedented. Something that made no tactical sense. In the heart of the transformation, Alexei's voice carried through the comm system one last time. We were never meant to survive Earth. We weren't supposed to reach the stars. The universe itself conspired against us. But we persevered. We adapted. We evolved. Not just biologically, spiritually. We became something new. The XLR Collective watched as the human fleet dissolved into a wave of pure energy that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. Not destructive. Transformative. As it washed over the Council's fleet, the advanced vessels began to change. Their weapon systems dissolved, their shields flickered and died. Their crews, beings who had existed for thousands of years, suddenly understood. They're not attacking, Zalarian realized with dawning horror. They're sharing. The wave of energy carried humanity's collective consciousness, their pain, their struggle, their desperate will to survive, and something else. Something that had been dormant until this moment, a remnant of Earth's final days, a gift from a dying planet to its children. As the transformation swept through the Bastion system, the Council's fleet didn't explode or disintegrate. It changed. Weapons of war became instruments of creation. Vessels designed for destruction transformed into something new, something better. In the observation chamber, Zorthak's crystalline form glowed with the same blue light that had once been the human fleet. They're not just surviving, the Elder whispered. They're transcending. The Axelar Collective's sensors finally understood what humanity had become. Not conquerors. Not victims. Something entirely new. A bridge between matter and energy. Between individual consciousness and collective understanding. Between what was and what could be. The transformation spread beyond the Bastion system, rippling outward through the galaxy. Not as a weapon. Not as an invasion. As an invitation. An offer to join humanity in becoming something more than the sum of their parts. In what would later be recorded as the Great Transformation, the galaxy didn't end. It began anew, with humanity once considered the most dangerous species in the cosmos, leading the way toward a future no one had imagined possible. The Axelar Collective watched as worlds transformed. As species that had warred for millennia suddenly understood each other. As the universe itself seemed to sigh with relief at the changes. Log entry, Final. We were wrong. About everything. Humanity wasn't a threat to galactic order. They were the next step in galactic evolution. We tried to destroy what we should have welcomed. We feared what we should have embraced. The humans weren't supposed to survive. But they did more than that. They rewrote the rules. Not just for themselves, for all of us. The galaxy will never be the same. The transformation rippled through the galaxy like a stone cast into the cosmic pond. Waves of blue energy washed over star systems, altering not just technology but consciousness itself. Species that had warred for generations suddenly found themselves understanding perspectives they had never considered. Enemies became allies. Strangers became family. But not everyone welcomed the change. In the uncharted regions beyond the galactic rim, something ancient stirred. Something that had watched the rise and fall of civilizations with predatory patience. Something that had long considered the galaxy its hunting ground. The transformation of humanity had not gone unnoticed by the Void Stalkers. Being so ancient that even the Xylor Collective's extensive records contained only fragmented mentions of them. They existed between dimensions. Between moments of time, they consumed civilizations not for resources or territory, but for the very essence of consciousness itself, on what had once been the human colony world of New Terra, now transformed into a crystalline nexus of interconnected consciousness. Alexei Volkov stood in what used to be the central plaza. His physical form had changed along with everything else, becoming something fluid, adaptable, neither fully matter nor energy, but capable of manifesting as either. "They're coming," he said to the empty air, though he wasn't alone. Not anymore. The shepherd materialized beside him, a being of shifting light that barely maintained human form. The Void Stalkers. I wondered how long it would take them to notice. They noticed the moment humanity transcended, Alexei replied, his voice carrying across the newly formed consciousness network. "We've just become the most attractive prey in the galaxy." What humanity had unleashed, the Great Transformation as it would come to be called, had fundamentally altered the fabric of reality in their corner of the cosmos. The barriers between individual consciousness had thinned, allowing for a level of communication and understanding previously unimaginable. But this thinning had made the galaxy more visible, more accessible to beings that hunted from beyond the known dimensions. In what remained of the XLR observation post, Nalarian's crystalline form pulsed with the blue light of transformation. The collective had joined the network, not by force, but by choice. The elder races had seen the truth in humanity's offering and embraced it willingly. Almost all of them. The Viridian Dominion has sealed their borders. Zorthak transmitted through the network, its harmonic frequencies now carrying emotional undertones it had never possessed before.